You wake up face down in straw. Not soft straw, not warm, golden, harvest festival straw. This is the kind that's been reused by 3 people, a goat, and something that squeaks when you shift your weight. Your neck feels like it lost a fist fight with a wooden cartwheel, and your left foot is wet, but you don't know why. Welcome to morning in medieval Europe. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, smoke, and cabbage. Always cabbage. Not fresh cabbage either. Fermented. Like someone tried to make soup and sorrow at the same time. You try to sit up only to remember 2 things. 1, your legs are tied into a shared blanket made of loosely woven wool. And regret, and 2, you're sharing your sleeping space with 2 other people, a sleeping dog and possibly your cousin. You'd ask, but she's already outside milking something. This is not your home. Not really. You're not a noble, not a monk, not even a tradesman. You're what history books generously refer to as a common. In reality, you're dirt poor and only slightly better nourished than the family pig. Maybe worse. At least the pig gets scraps. It's sometime around dawn, not that you can tell. No clocks, no watch. Just a vague light pushing through a tiny hole in the wall that serves as your window. There's no glass, just a piece of waxed cloth, stiff with last winter's frost and this week's mildew. It does an impressive job of keeping out the sun while letting in every possible draft. You stand. Bad idea. Your knees crack. Your spine rebels. Your stomach lurches at the smell of the chamber pot in the corner, which has clearly reached a moral crisis. Someone shouts outside. You don't understand the dialect. It's still technically your language, but 600 years earlier, it's a mess of half-Latin, local slang, and regional profanity. The message, however, is clear: time to work. You step outside. Immediately the wind hits you like a sermon, long, cold, and full of judgment. You're dressed in a tunic that's more whole than fabric, a belt made of rope, and 1 boot. Your other foot is wrapped in linen, because the second boot is either missing or now claimed by the pig. No one's arguing with the pig. Breakfast? That's optimistic. You get a small crust of rye bread. It's hard, stale, possibly alive. You consider dipping it in ale, but the ale is warm, flat, and has something floating in it. Could be barley. Could be yesterday's mouse. Either way, your stomach makes the decision for you. Skip it. That will be your last good decision of the day. Now comes your job. You're not a lord, not a lady, not even a clerk. You're a field laborer. The medieval equivalent of do what you're told or freeze. You head to the fields, stomach empty, hands raw, brain still fogged with night. The work is relentless. Planting, harvesting, hauling, digging. Whatever the land demands and your lord insists. You bend, you lift, you bend again. The tools are primitive, the soil is frozen, and your back gives up at precisely 7:16 a.m. Not that you know the time. The sun has barely climbed over the treetops, and your palms already feel like they've been sandpapered by divine punishment. A boy runs past you shouting something about a lost sheep. A woman shrieks from the direction of the cookhouse. A man grumbles to himself about taxes, disease, and the Pope, not necessarily in that order. The village wakes up like a kicked beehive, full of purpose, panic, and minor disasters. You're supposed to pay a tax today. For what, you're not sure. Maybe the mill, maybe the road, maybe just for breathing the local air. You don't have money. No one does. You have eggs. 1.5. You consider offering those. But first, you need to find the bailiff. He's the one who collects the taxes, and also the one who fines you if you don't bow deep enough when the Lord rides by. You remember what happened to the blacksmith's apprentice last month. Forgot to remove his cap, spent 3 days in the stocks with his pants down, and a sign that said impertinent whelp. You're not taking chances. As you shuffle back toward the main road, dodging geese and a suspicious puddle that's probably not water, you finally lay eyes on the manor house. It's not a castle, but it's big. Stone. 2 stories. Has a roof that doesn't leak. A miracle. The local lord lives there. You've seen him twice. Once from a distance, on a horse. Once closer, when he sneezed in your general direction and your aunt declared it a blessing. He doesn't work the land. He doesn't boil his own water. He wears wool so fine it looks like cloud skin. He probably smells like soap. You don't. A bell rings from the chapel. Mid-morning prayer. You're supposed to stop and cross yourself. You do, not out of piety, out of fear. Last week someone skipped it and tripped into a dung heap 2 hours later. People noticed. Superstition runs the village. Not science, not logic. You were warned not to sleep too close to the east wall because that's where ghosts pass. You were told to turn your shoes upside down before bed to confuse the devil. And you were definitely warned about walking near the old well at midday. That's when it sings. You haven't heard it. But you don't test it. You finally spot the bailiff near the church steps, arguing with a monk about grain tithes. You hand him your eggs, he sneers, takes them anyway. You don't speak. You bow, you walk away. This is survival. Not fighting, not running. Just keeping your head down and hoping the fleas don't bite your eyelids again tonight. It's not even noon. You've eaten half a loaf of stone-hard bread, pulled a muscle in your back, insulted the pig, and possibly offended a ghost by stepping on its favorite moss patch. You're tired, itchy, and more than a little scared of the woman with the one eye who keeps pointing at you and muttering in Latin. Congratulations. You've made it 5 hours, only 19 left, and it gets worse. It's noon, allegedly. You can't tell because no one owns a clock, and the sun is somewhere behind the fog, the smoke, and the guilt. But the church bell just rang again, and you're hungry enough to start hallucinating that the thatched roof looks like roast chicken. That's a good sign, or a very bad one. You head toward what you think might be lunch. It's not. It's a gruel-based negotiation with your digestive tract. The communal cook fire is spitting half-hearted sparks, and a small pot bubbles over it. You don't ask what's inside. You already know better. It's mostly water, a handful of barley, and one questionable turnip. The village calls it pottage. You call it a tragic broth. There's a line, not for politeness. There's just one spoon, and it's tied to the ladle by a piece of frayed string, so no one runs off with it. As you wait, someone sneezes directly onto your shoulder. You make eye contact. It's too late. You're infected with something now. Could be the plague, could be just your annual respiratory failure. You won't know until sundown. There's no such thing as germ theory. People think illness is caused by bad air, foul smells, or a misalignment of your humors. The only real medical treatment is being bled until you feel lightheaded enough to hallucinate that you're fine. Finally, it's your turn. You crouch, sip from the ladle, burn your tongue, and now you get to spend the next 2 hours chewing something that might be meat, or might be part of a boot. The flavor is ash with notes of regret. Still, you're grateful. You're no longer starving, just dangerously underfed. You finish eating and realize you haven't had water all day. You shouldn't. Water is a gamble. The local stream runs past 3 barns, a tannery, and the old woman's house, the one who keeps muttering at her chickens and claims to predict death based on earwax. Everyone knows her well is cursed. The only safe drink is ale. Weak ale, watery ale, baby ale. Even children drink it because it's boiled and fermented, less likely to kill you than pond scum. So you drink a half pint. It tastes like oatmeal and metal, but hey, you're hydrated. Sort of. You're also now burping things that were never alive. Now it's back to work. You try to wipe your hands but realize your tunic is already saturated with mud, soot, and something that might be chicken entrails. It's unclear. You give up and wipe them on your leg. You're wearing hose. They're wool. They're itchy in ways that medieval people simply called daily life. A small child runs past, barefoot, screaming in joy. Or fear. Hard to tell. You, meanwhile, have one job this afternoon: gather firewood. Not glamorous, not paid. But if your house doesn't burn tonight, it's thanks to you. Sort of. You trudge into the woods, avoiding 2 things: wild boars, which are real, territorial, and deeply unpleasant. The other peasants, who are also real, territorial, and deeply unpleasant. You manage to drag back a bundle of damp sticks and drop them near the hearth. Someone complains that it smells like mold. You smile politely and walk away. That's about as close as this village gets to workplace conflict resolution. Now it's time to use the latrine. You'd hoped to avoid this. You really had. There's no bathroom. There's a trench out back, shielded by a leaning wall of thatch and false hope. You approach. The smell hits first. Earthy, ancient, almost philosophical. You step carefully, trying not to slip on the frosted mud. You balance, squat, and try not to scream when something brushes your ankle. Later, you realize it was a rat. At least you hope it was a rat. Washing your hands? Adorable. Soap is rare, water is cold, towels don't exist. And anyway, you just did what most people do. Wipe on your tunic and call it a moral compromise. You briefly consider bathing. You laugh. The village bathhouse closed last year when someone said it spread disease. They're not wrong. Baths, in shared tubs, reused water, in a room with zero ventilation, are a petri dish for the Black Death. It's safer to be dirty, or dead, or both. Back in the village square, there's a commotion. A man is being yelled at. He apparently stole a loaf of bread, or looked at someone's wife, or failed to pay a chicken tax. It's unclear. Justice is swift. He's sentenced to sit in the pillory for an hour. The stocks, if you're unfamiliar, are a medieval answer to community theater. Except the performance is humiliation and the audience throws turnips. You watch. You nod solemnly. Secretly, you're relieved it isn't you. You try to rest, leaning against a barn wall. But someone yells your name, or something that sounds like your name. And now you're off to help patch a fence that collapsed because of evil weather. You don't know what that means, but you nod anyway and grab a hammer. You spend the next hour accidentally hitting your thumb, while a man with 3 teeth lectures you on how fences are a symbol of moral decay. You agree. You would agree with anything if it meant sitting down. You don't sit. By the time the sun starts setting, your head is pounding, your back is spasming, and you've developed a blister on your blister. You smell like ash, goat, mildew, and the past. You're not dead. But you're close to quitting. Too bad there's no quitting, there's only evening. By the time the sun limps toward the hills, your legs are shaking and your stomach is whimpering. The sky's turning the color of bad mutton, and the clouds look like they're scheming. Again, evening in the medieval world is not cozy. There are no glowing windows, no firelit parlors with storybooks. There is smoke. There is mud. There is an aggressive rooster who's decided to chase you for no apparent reason. You dodge it, just barely, and return to the one-room hut you're calling home tonight. The hearth is lit, barely. Someone's trying to coax heat from damp wood, and the result is mostly steam and a smell that implies moss is dying. Dinner is happening. That's a generous term. The pot is back on. It hasn't been emptied since breakfast. New things have been added. Roots, barley, a suspicious green lump that might have been cabbage in the last crusade. The flavor is complex, scorched hope, bitter herbs, and something that keeps getting caught in your teeth. There is no plate. No spoon, unless you remembered to bring the communal one. You crouch near the hearth, eating with your hands, trying not to cry. Someone passes a jug of ale. It's flat and warm and vaguely sour. You drink. Your body is grateful. Your tongue is not. Conversation picks up. It's mostly grunts, gossip, and the occasional threat. Someone claims their uncle saw a witch last night, near the tree line, bent like a hook, muttering to a badger. Someone else swears they heard wolves in the eastern field. A third person coughs violently and spits into the fire. No one flinches. It's just evening. This is when the real fear starts to creep in. Because daylight might be exhausting, humiliating, and full of blisters. But night is when things happen. Things you can't see. Things that don't care if you believe in them. You're told not to whistle after dark. It calls the spirits. You're told not to look too long at the moon. It listens. You're told not to sleep near the open window. That's how bad dreams get in. You laugh nervously. No one laughs with you. You stop laughing. You step outside to relieve yourself. No indoor latrine, just the night pit. It's dark. You step in something. You pray it's just mud. A dog barks. A door slams. You shiver. Your body is not built for this. You're used to thermostats, curtains, indoor plumbing. And right now your options are freeze in your own clothes, sleep in a pile of equally filthy villagers, or lie awake and hope nothing bites you in the night. You choose all three, in rapid succession. Back indoors, people are settling in. The fire is low. Shadows stretch across the walls. The ceiling creaks. Someone lays out the shared blanket, a single strip of scratchy wool that smells like defeat. It covers 3 people. You are one of them. The person next to you has what can generously be described as a cough with opinions. You try to sleep, you close your eyes, your face itches, your foot is cold. Something is moving under your tunic. You pretend it's your imagination. It's not. You hear whispering. The old woman is muttering in Latin again. Or is it French? Could be spells, could be prayers. Honestly, you're too tired to care. You shift, trying to find a patch of dry straw. You fail. The damp has found you. It is in your bones now. Someone passes gas. Loudly. No one acknowledges it. This is community. A baby starts crying in the next hut. A man yells. The baby stops. You lie very still. In the distance, a dog howls. Something else answers. Could be a wolf, could be wind, could be something worse. There is no way to find out without dying. Your teeth are chattering, your fingers are numb, your stomach is reconsidering the turnip stew. You want to shift, but you're afraid you'll wake the child at your feet or the woman who keeps muttering about saints and sulfur. You close your eyes again. You don't sleep, you drift, half dream, half frozen. Something brushes your face. It's probably straw. You tell yourself it's straw. You last until just before dawn. That's when the rats get bold. They scurry, they squeak, you flinch. One of them runs across your arm. You scream. Just a little. The woman beside you swats your face and calls you cursed. The fire has gone out. It is now colder inside than out. And still, somehow, the rooster crows. You survived. Technically, but you are feverish. Covered in bites. Cursed. Probably. And starting to smell like you've always lived here. You sit up slowly. You regret everything. And you still have one more hour before sunrise. You're still alive. This is not necessarily a victory. You wake, not so much rested as released, when the rooster lets out another screech, a little louder than yesterday, a little angrier, like it too resents being alive in this century. Your body aches in places you didn't know had nerves. Your mouth tastes like burnt wool. Your breath smells like medieval dentistry, which is to say, hope and garlic. The fire has gone out. Again, the dog next to you is snoring. The child is drooling on your leg. The woman who muttered all night has finally gone silent, and you're afraid to check why. The straw is wet. The air is colder than it was last night. There's condensation on the inside of your tunic. You are beginning to understand why people died so young. You stand. Slowly. Bones creak like shipwood. Your muscles do not cooperate. They object. The hut is dim, not dark, just gray. There's a difference. The kind of gray that doesn't mean weather. It means another day is here, and you're expected to do it all again. But first, the rituals. You spit, stretch, swear softly. You check your limbs for bites. You scratch. You pretend you'll wash later. You won't. No one does. Outside, smoke is rising from 3 hearths and 1 unfortunate chicken coop. The village smells like damp wood, onion, and something acidic, urine, most likely, or wine gone very wrong. Possibly both. You step into your boot. Still wet, no surprise. Your breakfast is another crust of bread. It's even harder than yesterday. You chew like you're filing your teeth down to a career in self-defense. There's a knock on the plank outside your door. No privacy. No locks. No such thing as personal time. It's your neighbor. He's got something in a bucket. It's steaming. It might be breakfast. It might also be soap. He offers it. You accept it. Neither of you makes eye contact. You hear someone yelling in the distance. Another fight? No, just a dispute over land boundaries. Or a chicken. Or possibly a wife. Medieval conflict resolution tends to be fluid and loud. 2 boys run past with sticks. They're play fighting, pretending to be knights. They don't know real knights. They've never seen plate armor. If they had, they'd probably cry. Or try to steal the boots. You step back into the village square, wondering what your task is today. You don't know. You wait for someone to tell you. That's the medieval way. There's no concept of your dreams or career goals. You work, you breathe, you avoid disease and taxation and the baker's weird son, and you count that as success. You wonder, briefly, what it might be like to read. You've seen the monks, heard the chants, watched as they wrote carefully with ink and quills and silence. It seemed otherworldly. You don't read. No one you know reads. Books are expensive, sacred, and in many ways dangerous. An idea could kill faster than a pox. So you keep your ideas quiet. Mid-morning approaches. You've gathered sticks. You've dumped the chamber pot, a task you will never emotionally recover from. You've checked the goat for any new surprises. You've avoided 3 different conversations that smelled like recruitment for something cultish. It's only been 2 hours. You've lived 24, barely. You didn't wash, change clothes, use anything remotely resembling a toilet, encounter a single piece of medical advice grounded in science, or experience a moment of personal agency. But you did work, shiver, eat something brown, get insulted by a one-eyed woman, and avoid execution by the thinnest of margins. And that's what counts. You realize, standing in a patch of cold sunlight, that you didn't fail to survive. You were never supposed to thrive. Medieval life wasn't about enjoyment, it was about endurance. You endured bad food, colder weather, no privacy, mysterious rashes, suspicious stew, and a spiritual war against both demons and drafty windows. You were the foundation, the labor, the mass upon which all those great castles, kings, and cathedrals were built. You weren't meant to be remembered, you were meant to keep going. And yet, you're still here. It's not glorious, it's not poetic, it's not the romantic fantasy painted by TV dramas and glossy museum exhibitions. It's just life. Messy, loud, damp, and built on layers of compromise. Too cold, too loud, too full of things that don't work and people you're stuck with. You know, medieval life, or as some might call it, Monday.